Only Murders in the Building. This is season one. The first season originally came out in 2021, I want to say. And I remember when this first season came out, I did attempt to watch the first episode. I probably got halfway through it and just never went back to finish watching it. And if I remember correctly, I wasn't fully paying attention to it, which might have been my problem with not wanting to continue watching it. I don't really remember why I didn't finish watching it. Because I gotta say, this show is pretty interesting. You got your main ensemble cast here: Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, which is interesting pairing or interesting trio. When you add Selena Gomez into the mix, you wouldn't think the three of them together would be, a trio. But they're really great. There are a lot of, we're old, you're young kind of jokes in here. Some of them are on the nose and just not that funny. But it's kind of interesting. The show is essentially about these three people who have a love of true crime, a certain true crime podcast. And they all live in the same apartment building. No clue who they are. But one day, when they find out they all like this true crime podcast, they kind of start bonding. And then from there is someone that dies in the apartment building. The police rule it as a suicide, and the trio go, that doesn't seem like a suicide, seems like someone murdered him. And then things kind of go from there, and they start a podcast called Only Murders in the Building, in which they are essentially, going through their process of trying to solve this murder case. And, is it a murder? Was it suicide? That's kind of what their podcast is. And it was a very interesting show. I gotta say, the first season's 10 episodes. There's some cameos in here that I was not expecting. Nathan Lane, Tina Fey, Sting. There's some very interesting stuff with Sting that I was not expecting. Very funny stuff too, I will say. Where are you, Chester? Oh, you're right there. Chester's all over the place. This show definitely had me guessing. I will say the first 2 or 3 episodes were a little slow. That also might have been part of the reason why I just wasn't necessarily loving it the first time I had tried watching it back in 2021. It did feel a little slow at first. Like, I just didn't care about the characters necessarily. But once you get to know the characters a little bit and their friendship kind of forms, it gets better. It gets really good from there, actually. So as far as the mystery itself, it was interesting enough. There was a lot of twists and turns that happened throughout. You learn things about, all the characters, and some of their stories kind of start, interacting with the person who died. We start, we find out there's some lies being told. There's just a lot of interesting stuff here. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. Was this anything amazing? Not per se, but it was engaging enough that I really enjoyed it. Each episode's about a half hour long. Not terribly long, but they were the perfect runtime, honestly, for what this show needed. And I think the big thing that really works for this show is the fact that the three have just such great chemistry. We've all known that Martin Short and Steve Martin have been friends for quite a while now. And then, just adding Selena Gomez into the mix was just not something I was expecting. So I found that very interesting. And I just can't believe how well it works. And, there's also some really interesting characters that also show up that you just don't expect. So there are just the characters in this are what really make it work for me. The mystery is interesting. Like I said, there are quite a few twists and turns that I just didn't see coming. There are a couple things I did guess, which is obviously not what you want, but like I said, it kept me going. There was twists and turns happening that I was enjoying enough. And then I also have to say there is an episode that has such great sound design and such. Basically, there is a character in the show that is deaf, and it does a good job of like kind of putting things through his perspective in the sense of like, you don't hear anything, so that was really interesting to see as well. So I gotta give big, props to that episode. I think it's episode 7 or 6 or something like that. So yeah, all around, this is a fun, enjoyable show. Is this, anything amazing like a Breaking Bad or anything like that? No, but it is a fun show. There's great chemistry between the main cast, and the mystery was fun enough. So, overall, I'll give this one like, I'll say 8 out of 10, actually. I liked it more than I thought. I think only thing that held me back a little bit was just kind of the pacing towards the first episodes. And then just some of the humor didn't necessarily work. But there is some really great humorous moments that actually work really well. But yeah, overall, a really good show. If you haven't checked it out, you should. And there is a good... The ending is perfect and definitely makes me want to start watching season 2. So I will say that. So you guys, let me know. Have you seen this show? What do you think of this one? Comment down below, all that fun jazz. And don't do anything I wouldn't do. Again, I need sleep. Look at those eyeballs. So yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And we will see you next time.